creepy Reddit stories video for you, and in the background to set the mood right and to create further relaxing and ASMR sounds. I'm lighting a candle and playing solitaire. If this combination of sounds and visuals help you, please consider liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing to my channel before you fall asleep. I also wanted to say thank you to all my lovely patrons. I just finally got my first payment. It is truly life-changing for me. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to my voice. Thank you so much. So if you guys haven't checked out my Patreon yet, maybe head over there. Maybe you'll find some content that you like also. Now, if you have done all that or don't want to, I suggest that you lay back, relax. There's not much to see, maybe even close your eyes and give yourself away to the sounds. The first story that got my attention is of course titled Vampire Encounter. This one is from subreddit Paranormal, and it says, I've debated posting this or not. I had a very strange experience, and it's bothering me enough that I decided to post to see if anyone else has had a similar experience. I feel like I sound crazy sharing this, but it truly happened, and I'm scared. Saturday, my husband and I went out for drinks, and there was a band playing. We danced and sang and had a good time, and then Ubered home. My husband was completely wasted when we got home. He was stumbling, almost falling. He said he left his phone at the bar, so I got him into bed and called the bar to see if they had it. They did not. A car pulled back up and I thought it was the Uber driver with his phone. I went outside to get the phone, but it was the singer from the band. He asked where my husband was, and I said he was asleep. He then said he had to tell me something. He said he noticed my energy all night and proceeded to tell me he was a vampire. Not the blood-sucking kind, but an energy/soul vampire. And that he could turn me, that I'd live forever and lots of details, like his past names, his past wives, his favorite author from the 1800s, and so on. And he said he wanted to convert me and made a loud guttural sucking noise. How freaking creepy. There's a lot more details, but I don't want to get into them right now. We have Ring cameras, and he never showed on the camera, just me. But there is a video of the car leaving. My husband didn't wake up until noon the next day. Very unlike him. And I told him all this, and he thinks it was a dream, and that maybe somehow my husband was drugged and we were followed home. It was not a dream. There is footage of the car leaving. I have, however, been having bad dreams since this night, and I've been restless over the whole situation. There's not something I believe in, but I can't help but shake the uneasy feeling I have. Please reach out if you have a similar experience. The alleged vampire also said I could not tell anyone he was a vampire without bad things happening. Has anyone else had this happen to them? Now that's sure is a bizarre encounter, and maybe you did dodge a bullet. Maybe your husband is right. Maybe he accidentally got or intentionally got drugged at the bar, and this creepy singer maybe had his eyes on you and followed you home. And I don't know why somehow thought by saying all this creepy weird stuff that maybe he believed in, he would get the girl. How horrifying. And no wonder that this poor woman has been having nightmares about it. So yeah, definitely I don't think it was a real vampire. Unfortunately. Or fortunately. I don't know. Time for another creepy story. This other one is from one of my favorite subreddits, and maybe a lot of yours, r/cryptids, and it is titled My Dogman Encounter. I have only ever shared this story with one other person for fear of being called crazy. But here goes nothing. For sake of privacy, I cannot disclose the exact location of this, but I will say that it was in the northern Illinois in the spring of 2020. Is there anyone listening from Illinois? Let me know how weather is there during spring. The other continues. During the COVID lockdown, my partner at the time was working overnight as security for the property he worked on, as they were not open to normal visitors. Interesting wordage. I would often go out to have dinner with him and keep him company for a few hours, and drove the same route that I would multiple times a week. One night, I was heading back home from his job site. It was around midnight, maybe 12:30 a.m., and I was driving home, a major road with other traffic in both lanes. There's a stretch of this road that is between the bar row and the convenience cluster, whatever those means. About 3/4 of a mile with less buildings, less lights, mostly entrances to neighborhoods, and a few parks. Okay, I get it. I'm feeling the setting. As I was passing the stretch of one of these parks, I noticed that the car in the oncoming lane had slowed almost to a stop in a 45 miles per hour zone, which is what originally got my attention. Then I noticed a dark shape moving in front of their headlights, eventually passing into my lane, before passing the edge of the guardrail and continuing down the small hill and into the darkness of the park. It was around 8 to 10 feet tall, black and scraggly, clearly covered in fur/hair. It walked on 2 legs, which I could see bent wrong at the knee. It was like a dog, and I could see 2 arms with long fingers. It had a slight hunch to its back and a large head with an extended muzzle. All in all, a pretty typical image you normally see of a dogman or the beast of prey road. Think cheesy movie werewolf meets shaggy German shepherd. It was over so quickly that I didn't even fully process what I had just seen until I had started driving again. This thing was not running or anything, just walking with unnaturally long strides across a 2-lane road. As soon as I realized what I had seen, I called my partner and he had me describe it in as much detail as I possibly could, which is probably part of the reason that I still remember it in many details. We did go out to the park the next day looking for prints, as it had been raining the day before and the ground was quite muddy. We saw 1 or 2 imprints that looked like it could have been large paw-like prints, but nothing clear enough to photograph or cast. That is a crazy one for sure. If this is real and this is their actual experience, how horrified must you feel, must you be, when you encounter something like that? Do you guys believe in these stories? Do you think something dog-looking could walk on 2 legs? And if so, what could it be? Another animal that we don't know about? Or a hybrid this experience, which is one of the few paranormal weird experiences I've ever personally had. To preface, I am a person who is open-minded, but I also work on facts and take things with a grain of salt without actually dismissing them. Over the last however many years, we have seen so many conspiracy theories and things that turn out to be true. I am probably even more open these days than I was when I was younger. Aren't we all? I have lived a pretty good life overall. I was dating a girl who had a big impact on my life, and as you do, we grew apart and I moved on. I met another girl who I immediately fell for. I like to romance and show I care, and I did. I worked hard in my career, and she did too, saving for a home, which we managed to purchase a few years later. We went through some tough times when she got pregnant. We were ecstatic, but it was a lot for us as she needed to quit working and we went to single income. We managed to make it work, and through the stressful times, we always made sure to put each other first. We had 2 more children, and as they got older, my wife was able to return to work, and so we lived a fairly normal but happy and comfortable life. Our children are all close in age, and they are teenagers, and we had some expendable money. We were actively working to take more family holidays. My wife and I had fallen apart as people do when the kids were about 4 to 7 years old. And they were difficult times, but we both loved each other. And as the kids got older and we were able to spend more time together, we found ourselves again. Life wasn't easy, but that's normal. One Sunday we were having a barbecue. It was summer and we were all in the backyard while I was cooking. I remember it was a bright sunny day and it was hot. The kids had been throwing a baseball, or maybe it was some kind of ball-shaped pool toy at each other. Fairly rough, as teenagers do. I started feeling really lethargic. I asked my wife if she had any Panadol, paracetamol. I don't know what drug that is. She said there was some in the bedroom, and she mentioned I looked pale all of a sudden, and that I should go lay down after taking some tablet, and she could finish cooking. wasn't in my bed. I wasn't in my room. I panicked as I was confused, and the woman said my name and asked what was wrong. I was sweating heavily and my heart was racing. I looked over and it was my ex-girlfriend from before. From before I had met my wife. She looked exactly like she did not long before we broke up. It took a few minutes for me to realize I was in our old rental house. I started to panic because it was all so real and vivid. I had never had a dream like this before. She looked real, and the room looked real, and I could feel everything clearly. She asked me to calm down, and all of a sudden, the image of my family appeared in my mind. And second by second, bit by bit, I started to forget each of their names. And then I slowly started to forget their faces. They became blurry. I started to cry and my ex-girlfriend was extremely confused and asked what was going on. But I couldn't explain it to her. Memory after memory started to fade. Birthdays, holidays, special events, my kids' sports awards and their first words and their first steps. I vividly remember random days at work and stupid conversation I had with coworkers, and they started to fade also. The house faded, the birth of my children, our wedding anniversaries, our wedding, our first kiss, our first date, how we met, who she was, all gone. All I had left was an image of 4 unrecognizable people with blurred, blacked out faces standing in the backyard of a house I didn't recognize looking at me, and the words "I love you" with no recognizable sound or voice. I explained to my girlfriend what happened and she was like, "Whoa, that's a crazy dream." And I was like, it wasn't a dream though. It was real, or at least it felt more real than any dream I've ever experienced. I literally mourned the death of my family for days, weeks, and months. That is such a trippy story. How crazy. About a year or so later, I saw a story about a guy who went through this and kept seeing a lamp and woke up to realize the lamp was in a hospital room he was in. This freaked me out because it was exactly what I had experienced. It turned out this was some creepypasta someone made up, which was disappointing. That same post came across my Facebook about a year shared it to my girlfriend who I am now engaged to, and we have 2 children. I never broke up with her and I never met the other woman. I said to her I saw this story ages ago. The other woman. I said to her I saw this story ages ago. It's just like what happened to me at the old house. And she was like, what do you mean, at the old house? I was like, remember when I had that crazy dream where I lived the whole life and I woke up panicking and confused and you had to calm me down? And she was like, that never happened. And I responded, yes it did. You don't remember me in a massive depressed state, crying about a family I forgot, and me spending weeks and months depressed? And the girlfriend answered, no, none of that happened, I'm sorry. What a crazy fun. I don't know if this was just an extremely vivid and wild dream, where my mind not only detailed the dream so much. I remembered years of mundane office work, a shift of realities, time travel where my little remaining knowledge of the future caused me to make different decisions, leading to me staying with my girlfriend. That's a whole butterfly effect of things. This is a crazy story for sure. Imagine waking up and all your life was a dream, and now you're stuck in this other world that you don't know much about. The first comment under this one is, I heard this theory. Then when you die, it can happen that you switch places with a parallel you. If this is real, you might have died and are now in a parallel reality in which you didn't die. Were you back in the past, or did you simply never break up with your ex? And Yobi answered, I returned back to the past before we broke up, as if that entire life from that point. That's crazy, went back 15, 17 years. But if he actually died that day, that's why he was feeling bad. And when he went to lie down, maybe he had a heart attack or something and passed away. And that was the last image that he had of his family, and of them saying, I love you. And then, since our consciousness cannot die, and this is just a theory, he just jumped through another parallel reality of his. What a crazy one, for sure. Alright, this next story is from subreddit Glitch in the Matrix, one of our favorites, and it is titled Crazy Portal Vortex Thing in My Bedroom. So the other night my husband and I woke up at 3 a.m. and started to hear this really weird sound, like something was slowly falling in our room. So we shined a flashlight in the find or see what it was. Then slowly started to see a weird neon light flashing on the wall. Then it would just disappear. After a few moments of this, our vision started pulsating, going in and out. I started freaking out, asking my husband if he noticed it too, which he did. After a few minutes of the pulsating, everything started spinning over in the corner on the wall where we had just pointed the flashlight and looked. It started making a vortex/portal looking like thing that would not stop. It really started to freak us out. The only time we couldn't see it was when we had some type of light source in the bedroom. So we had to sleep that night with a night light on. We've never experienced anything like that before and haven't seen. We have no idea what it could be. I'm wondering if anyone else has any clue. Please let us know. Let's see if anyone in the comments has any idea. Someone said I saw this once over 30 years ago. I was laying on my bed, crying my eyes out, as my lovely Nan had passed away. I loved and missed her so much. Suddenly above and in the front of me, I saw this grey swirling vortex type thing. I suddenly had the knowledge that it was her. It wasn't like a thought, it was just certainty. Somehow I knew it. I looked at it, and then suddenly from nowhere, I got scared. The minute I got scared, it disappeared. I always wondered if I hadn't got scared, would I had seen my Nan? Did she leave because she didn't want to frighten me? I've always regretted it. I don't think people can wander around after they're dead. So unfortunately, I don't think that was their grandmother. Maybe something took advantage of the fact that they were vulnerable and sad. Alright, and the original poster answered to that last comment. Wow, I didn't even think of that. Our daughter passed in this room. And just that day I had posted on here asking any psychics if they knew she was okay, or if her or my best friend who passed 364 days after her to give me a sign, I definitely frightened myself. Oh, here we go. The OP answered herself. They dabbled in this weird thing, and something answered. The vortex, the things they saw, I do not think was of any good for any of their loved ones. But what do I know? What do you guys think if you're still awake? I think that's enough stories for experiences, and I love to hear what they call paranormal and how they try and explain it away. And I hope this far into the video you've already fallen asleep. If so, I hope that you are very lucid and in charge of your dream, and all that you see is of happiness, joy, and restfulness, and nothing of the creepy creatures that lurk all around us. Also, don't forget to check out